there's a Gigi's Playhouse up in Minneapolis here, and it's really popular. So I'm glad you're here representing that group.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So the way we have this set up today is we have a presentation to just walk through what all of this early planning for the All Abilities Playground kind of looks like. And then we're going to jump into hopefully some fun kind of whiteboard sessions where you can just give us some feedback on some prompts. So we have it broken down into different categories of play. So we hope it can be fun and we can kind of work through those together. But with that, I'm going to share my screen to just walk you through a presentation that we have. Okay, let me get to the top. Sorry, guys, hold on one second. I can't see my mouse here. There we go. All right, so this is a really exciting project for El Paso. As you probably remember, the community really supported that progress bond that was part of Proposition B. And that was in support of a regional all abilities playground located somewhere in El Paso to at least start brainstorming and thinking about that as a possibility for the community. So these are the very kind of first steps in thinking through what that type of playground is, so that we can better think about where that playground goes. And we're working with the city of El Paso on this. But for today's call, one of the first things we really wanted to do is talk to you, as experts about what we need to ask the broader El Paso community to better understand their needs for an all abilities playground. So specifically, we are looking for feedback on survey questions and programming ideas. So after these discussions with experts, and we had a call yesterday with folks as well, we're hoping to draft a survey that can go out to everybody in El Paso, and they can provide feedback on what they want to see at this All Abilities Playground. So looking at the agenda really quick, we're going to talk through kind of what our engagement is for this process. We're going to go through a few precedent projects or existing playground projects just to kind of stimulate ideas. We're going to talk, and then we're going to jump right into the brainstorming. So we have it set up kind of like a whiteboard, and you can take yourself off mute and just chat with us when we get to those moments, or you can also use the chat function if you like. But since it's just you, if nobody else ends up joining with us, it's fine to just kind of chat with us. All right, so you got introduced to our team. I'll be providing kind of project management and organization along the way. Sandy's really going to be the PIC and kind of QCing everything, and she's helping a ton with the engagement. And then we also have two other teammates and two other companies. You met Martin today, who's engagement support in El Paso. And then Michael is helping us organize the geospatial data to start thinking where is a suitable place for an all abilities playground. So really quickly about our engagement approach. We like to set up goals, and so we have these few set of high arching goals here to, number one, inform the community about really what's going on. We want to be transparent about the scope of this project, the timelines, and all the opportunities to participate. So there will be other times where you can participate in this process. We want to gather data, including public attitudes about priorities and values for this particular project. We also like to identify populations with larger barriers to engagement and provide ways for them to be part of the process. So one of those for us is making sure we reach out to children when we have a moment. So we are going to be hosting a children's workshop later in about a month or so. We also want to build capacity among stakeholders like yourself on this kind of vision, and then catalyze public consensus about the playground itself. So we are kind of at the very top of this table. We're performing these focus groups to help us organize the survey and kind of get the survey out there. So the next step is creating that survey, which will be coming over the next 2 weeks or so. The first in-person event we'll be at is Chalk the Block. And there'll be a table with City of El Paso staff and Consor out there with some fun activities for kids and adults. And then we have a set of 3 workshops happening in November. And those workshops are going to be focused more on the theming and still touching on the programming for the All Abilities Playground. And there we hope to work with community members. We'll host a children's workshop. And then we also will invite folks like yourself who are part of this early focus group out as well. Then there will be about 6 open public meetings. These will be in person or virtual with community neighborhood groups and with district representatives. And then lastly, we'll gather the focus groups and experts like yourself back again and report back what we heard from the survey. And that will be later in the process. Here's a kind of basic, very general schedule of that, where we are at the beginning of October. And then we hope to have the survey out for 2 months till the end of November. And then in December, meet back and report back what we saw. All right, so I am going to run through a few of the projects that Sandy and I were taking a look at just to kind of prime our thinking about All Abilities Playgrounds, what they are, what can they include, all of those sorts of things. And the first one we looked at, we're mainly in Texas, so we looked at a few in Texas first. It's called the Play for All Park in Round Rock, Texas. It opened a while ago, but they have been expanding it over time. And some of the features they have are retreat pods. They call a lot of the spaces they have pods. So I'm going to say pods a lot, but they have some sensory pods that include sandbox and kind of texture activities. They have a rock band pod. They use topography in a way that kind of encourages people to roll. They have other All Abilities Playscape equipment and swings. They have a life skills area. They also have a racetrack, which is more of a kind of a circular track where people can move, walk, run, and roll. They have a train pod. And then they also have a nature-based and treehouse themed pod, which is very interesting. And they were able to do this project with a combination of funding sources, including sponsorships. Another All Abilities and Inclusive Park is called the James Driver Park in Houston, Texas. This opened fairly recently, more recently. I actually haven't had a chance to see this one because I haven't been in Houston yet. But their big kind of thing that they did here is they used the topography to make very kind of dramatic changes where they almost had this bridge structure between these 2 hills. And then they had ADA trails kind of connecting everything. So they had this, what they're calling an inclusive topography plan. They have these spinners, custom swings. They used some of the sound sports games like beep baseball. They have a sensory garden, a fitness station, climbing features, some water play, and then supporting features like pavilions and restrooms. And then the last one we'll talk about today opened just this year, and it has a pretty strong theme of a forest theme. This one was called the Hidden Creek Park West, and it's in Hillsboro, Oregon. Some of the programming elements they have there is they do have water play. They have exercise equipment and game areas, some climbing structures, forts. They have this really large forest giant, which is a central kind of organizing element of their playground. They have All Abilities swings and other playscape. And then they have supportive things like shade, parking, and restrooms. So with that, I'm going to pause for a minute to see if you have any questions about anything that I've gone over so far and our kind of process for this. Okay, so we'll keep chugging along here, and this kind of gets to the fun part of it. So I am going to pull up our whiteboard, which is a Jamboard that we had prepared for this. So give me 1 second to find it, and then we'll be rolling along. Let me stop sharing while I find it real quick.
I have it pulled up too, Michelle, if you want me to share.
Sure, and I can jump in and write some things as well.
Sure.
Did you grab the one that has focus group 2 on it, Sandy?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Jose Luis, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Okay. Do we want to start on this page, Michelle?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. So we are going to do a couple different activities here. So this first one is sort of helping us identify sort of the vision statement for the project. So the vision statement is sort of going to be that guiding vision that we keep referring back to ensure that our project process and as we're approaching outcomes of it really align with that vision and that goal that we worked out with the city and with the stakeholders like yourself, Jose Luis. This tool that we're using is a Google tool. It's Jamboard. So as we have input coming up, either from city staff or from you, I can make a little Post-it note like I put here. So this is just how we're going to capture input from what we hear today. So we did this exercise with the city during our kickoff meeting a couple days ago. But we're hoping, if you have any ideas to refine or add to this vision, this isn't finalized in any way. We're just kind of accumulating thoughts that we can then put into sort of one holistic vision statement for the project. So our prompt here is the All Abilities Playground in El Paso is a place where, and then some ideas that were put forth already is everyone in our community can take advantage of our city parks, regardless of their abilities. Everyone can play without barriers, and you can be a kid and move your body with joy. So if you have any thoughts of how to maybe add on to this, or if you kind of already like where this is going, you can just give a thumbs up. We don't want to put too much pressure knowing that you're the only one on the call here. So
Yeah, I would give it a thumbs up. Yeah, I think that's a good vision. I like here at Gigi's, I know our one of our slogans is acceptance for all, and I think this kind of like pretty much that. So
I'm just gonna take some of these notes here.
I really like that. Acceptance. And some other folks were like, hey, can you combine those 3 bullet points? So we might take a stab at doing that as well.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Well, I think we'll move on to the next one.
Sure, and I can explain these real quick. So
Sure.
when we were, Sandy and I, Sandy's a landscape architect and I was trained in landscape architecture. So we like organizing things into buckets to help us out. And when we were thinking of All Abilities playgrounds, there's many different features that make them successful. And it's usually a combination of kind of all these things that are listed in these categories. So we broke it down into physical play, like play that you can move your body with and explore, maybe riskier things, but at a good comfort level for yourself. There's social and group play, sensory play. We also put in cognitive and imaginative play, which are, slightly different, but we're lumping them together there. We also added kind of calming in quiet areas, knowing that there's often times where we just need to kind of recenter and have a place to get away when playgrounds are kind of really active and noisy places sometimes, which is good, but we also need calm space. And then we thought about supportive programming, like what do we need for maybe caregivers and family, things that provide comfort and safety. We wanted to think about kind of multi-generational opportunities. We have a little bit about themes, like of course themes can help to organize what the play could be, and it's kind of an imaginative way of doing that. And the last two ones are adjacent needs or access, like, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but like having access to a sidewalk that comes to the playground, and then adjacencies to avoid, like where should we not put a park? That wouldn't be the best for safety and for kids. So really what we're going to do is go through each of these, and we have some examples, and you can just kind of talk about what you see. So for here, we were thinking for physical play, we have things like pathways and tracks. That could be really neat for a playground idea, or swings. Are there any other kind of physical play opportunities that you think has been really successful for Gigi's, and things that you think we should consider for the playground?
So I know, well, for our population in particular, it's Down syndrome, individuals with Down syndrome. As far as play goes, I guess, no, I don't really. Let me try to think. I know we have like a lot of like ramp structures that we have like specifically in our playhouse. A lot of steps as well, like
To help with sort of the,
with
getting more diversity in physical movement throughout.
Exactly, yeah. So a lot of our programming is designed specifically for these individuals because they have like very weak hips and they suffer from what's called hypotonia. So the steps is a big exercise that we do in one of our programs. That's pretty much all I can think of as far as that goes.
Oh, that's really helpful to think about. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so we'll go to the next one. This one's more about social and group play. Do you guys support and have social and group play at Gigi's? And the things that came up to us, which might be, it could be a little too active for your community, but I don't know, are like play towers and sports fields. But yeah, what other sort of social and group play would be appropriate?
I think, yeah, the play tower and sports field are great. I know personally, I like at a park, I would love the communication. Have you guys seen those, like the talking through a different microphone to the other end of the park? I know, I think our particular participants would really enjoy that because they're very vocal. So I think that'd be good for them as well.
That kind of feeds into the sensory almost.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Sound and hearing. But a lot of these are similar, there's a lot of these fit into multiple buckets, right? There's not just one, we don't have to stick to one thing. So I'm just going to copy notes back and forth if it kind of makes sense that way too. So what about, this kind of raised a question for me, the sports field that, I'm not sure if you're able to have an answer to, or maybe someone from the city on a call. What about adaptive sports, fields and outdoor courts and whatnot for any adaptive sports leagues happening? Is that something that could be considered as part of the scope, or it within the city? Maybe someone on the city team has an answer if there's already spaces for that. I know a miracle field was mentioned in yesterday's call. And that's something we can look into as well when we're doing our data, spatial data analysis as well. So.
Jose,
Okay.
Luis, were there any other items in social or group play that you want to add?
That's all I could think of at the moment. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to. If I think of more, we be able to come back to it, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
sure. And then, as Michelle said, there's going to be more opportunities to provide input as the project process goes on. And the contact info that I have for your organization, we're going to be continually providing updates and then more opportunities for input and stuff. So don't feel pressured to think that this is your only opportunity to provide input, because I know you're seeing this all for the first time. And I know that some of this stuff you kind of have to sit with and think about a little bit. So this next one is more in that sensory. So I was kind of excited to hear about sort of the microphones and other parts of the park. So that kind of fits into that sound and hearing, but also like that group way of doing that. Are there any ideas for other types of sensory, like water play? One of our examples is maybe a mister or a water table or something. Touch, maybe sand, sight, something more colorful, mosaics, or something for those that experience colors in different ways. Scent, maybe herb garden. Another sound example we had was drums.
Yeah, I think the drums, that's awesome because I know we give music lessons as well, and for our population in particular, that's really they like to just mess around. Here as well, because of the climate here, it's super hot in the summer, so yeah, the mister would be good because I don't think it's overwhelming. But there was I remember seeing this table at one of our meetings, and it's kind of like a sand table. I don't remember what it was called, but it was for sensory touch. So they would like it almost looked like a maze. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but um yeah, it was kind of like an activity for our population that was pretty cool.
Very cool. We'll look into and see if we can find what that is. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
I'll try to look. Maybe Maggie will know. So hopefully, yeah. Well, I'll get back to her, and I'll definitely share the survey question prompts with her as well.
For sure. Very cool. Is there anything maybe in sort of sight or scent?
As far as sight, I can just think of like very colorful, so I know that's like attractive, um, to anybody.
Yeah, sort of a something that a lot of people can enjoy for sure.
Because I know it's not very green here in particular, so I think that would stand out.
Cool. And that might pop over into theming too, Michelle. I'm going to pop that over there too. Just as a
Yeah,
note.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think that's all I have for this.
Cool. And I think you were touching on some of this as well. So this next category, that sort of cognitive or imaginative play, maybe like that maze sand table is kind of in this learning wall sort of,
Yeah.
example that we had. Yeah. So maybe I'll just copy that over too.
And yeah, I think maybe like those tic-tac-toe boards, would that fall under this category?
Yeah, for sure. Hope I spelled that right. I don't think I've ever typed out tic-tac-toe before.
Um, I don't know, maybe just something like with to do with numbers and counting, or even if you wanted to switch it up, like animals, maybe. I know that's
Sure.
really attractive to kids.
Yeah, that could be a fun imaginative play sort of theme. Very cool. And the next question, so we had a call yesterday as well with some focus group members, and there was a lot representing autism groups. So for calming, quiet areas, often sort of people experiencing autism need sort of like a little break area to have a little respite from any loud noises or overstimulation. So one example that we have for a quiet or calming area was a cozy dome, which is sort of that half dome enclosed space that sort of one kid could fit inside and sort of just take a break from anything that might be overstimulating outside of it. For the population that Gigi's Playhouse serves, is there anything in sort of this calming, quiet area that you think would be helpful, or do you have any ideas there?
So I think in that aspect, it's pretty similar to some of the people on the autism spectrum. I can think of some.
And again, don't want to put you on the spot or pressure you to.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying my best, but
No, yeah.
no, there's nothing that really comes to mind. I mean, the cozy dome is a great idea.
Yeah.
I know that I've been to a couple of parks where they have like a little bit of not seating in particular, but it's for kids, like underneath the playground where it's kind of like a little quiet area.
So just quiet seating area, kind of.
Yeah, but like still incorporated into the playground. Yeah, just underneath.
That's interesting because it's like you can still take a break, but still kind of be involved in
Yeah,
activities
usually
happening.
underneath the stairs. I'm like I don't know if you've seen like those dog houses that people make for their
Like
dogs.
Playhouse.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
underneath the stairs, kind of that sort of deal.
sure.
I like that idea.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's sort of taking the cozy dome one step further, maybe to fit into a type of theme or something like that. So that's cool.
Yeah. I think almost, I think all kids kind of sometimes need that, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
All right. So this one sort of goes, now we're kind of thinking a little bit outside of the play container itself and outside of any equipment or amenities within, that is specifically meant for play. So we're starting to think about supportive programming. So things that would help with the comfort and safety to make this playground successful. So one example that we have is restrooms. So what else within this park would add to the comfort, add to the safety for caregivers, family members, friends, anyone that, might be visiting this park with someone who wants to use the playground?
I would definitely say seating and shade.
We know shade's a big one in El Paso, so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of as far as this one.
I have a question relating maybe to parking, and I'm not sure, Michelle, if maybe I can address that over here.
Yeah.
I'll just put a pin in that for a couple slides later. So,
Okay. Mhm.
and then the next sort of bullet point here for supportive programming is multi-generational needs. So to think, we were thinking about this in a couple different ways. So the play experience in and of itself, sometimes playgrounds are broken apart a little bit based on age range. So maybe there's a tot lot for, 2 to 5 years old, and then there's larger play features for maybe that 5 to 12 age range. But sometimes there's playgrounds where that's all, integrated into one play experience. So kids of different ages are kind of all playing together versus separated. And I don't think there's a right answer one way or the other. So we're kind of asking for input and thoughts. If you have any thoughts on that aspect of multi-generational play. But then we're also thinking of multi-generational in the sense of caregivers, family members, friends who might be taking someone to the park or a group of people to the park that might have needs outside of the play equipment. So maybe people that have aged out of using that play equipment, is there something else in the park for them to do while someone's using the play equipment? So sort of, we're thinking about it in those two prongs. If you have any thoughts or input there.
That's a good. I don't know. I guess don't. I would just. Yeah, I don't know what can kind of incorporate them as well. Maybe. Yeah, I have no clue. I'm so sorry.
How is the playhouse set up? Do you have sort of different areas for different age ranges, or?
Um. Yes. In certain aspects, yes. So we do have like a functional playground for anybody under the age of 10, and then we have like exercise machinery for kids and adults as well, but they're kind of in different locations to separate that. But
Okay. So it's not just play equipment, there's actual exercise machines in there too for those who are old enough to utilize that.
yes, yeah. Well, so we actually have a section for the kids. So the machines are specifically um for
Kids?
kids, so it's a little bit
Oh, wow.
smaller. Yeah, and
Okay.
then we also have the adult machines as well.
Okay. That's cool. That's interesting to think about.
What is popular for
Yeah.
those sorts of that sort of equipment?
So most of our like our population, they have hip problems and vestibular issues, so they don't have very good balance. So a lot of it is just like bikes or ellipticals. Um, so yeah, and I know for our little playground, like I said earlier, it's a lot of ramps and like steps as well. But yeah, so I think so kind of the way we have it set up, I don't know if it was intentional, but we have like our little kids playground and then our kids and then our adults. So it's kind of like
They're kind of next to each other.
exactly.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for that input. I really appreciate it. Is there anything in there in Gigi's Playhouse for, I know there's, staff and supervisors inside. Is it sort of just seating for them? So that the sort of seating and shade is input sort of directly related to what
Yeah, so we have what's called our family area, and that's kind of
okay.
like, I guess that's what it would be. That's at the front of the playhouse.
Okay, and that has seating in it or tables or?
Yes, seating and tables, yes.
Okay, cool. Is there anything for, aside from the seating and tables, are there any activities like board games or anything for family to do while people are playing?
So we have like magazines, and then we have a back area with, it's called our hangout area. Um, So that has like a TV, and then it has maybe 40 different board games.
Very cool. Thank you for that input. That's really helpful.
What also comes to mind, like in the movies, I don't know if you see like, if you've seen like the older, like I guess grandpa and grandma age, like playing chess while
Yeah.
waiting for their, so that kind of comes to mind when thinking about multi-generation, because often it's like the grandpa and grandma taking their grandson out.
Like those outdoor chess tables you're saying?
That
Yeah.
can be like multi-generational as well. If like it's checkers, you can have.
That's a cool idea.
Cool. Anything else on this? I don't want to move on too quickly before.
I think that's.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. So we kind of touched on themes a little bit when you were bringing up sort of colorful, attractive features, because there's not a whole lot of greenery and color in the desert. So we want to start thinking about potential, maybe buckets for themes, not getting too super specific, but maybe just starting to think about, is this more nature and landscape based? So an example might be, it's based on the desert landscape. There's a lot of nature influenced play. Things sort of take the form of natural features. Or maybe it's something a little bit more thematic, like the railroad and trains, because that's, a pretty big piece of El Paso's history, and there's a lot of rail through the city. Or maybe it's something, that is totally different from those. Are there any strong themes that maybe come to mind for the user group that you're here representing today?
I know castles would probably be one of them, like that
Well,
sort of. Maybe animals. I don't. If there's a way to incorporate that.
mm-hmm. Some more like imaginative.
Yeah, more imaginative.
Use your imagination.
Like space sort of themes. I don't know, maybe for like a quiet room, stars or something like that.
Oh, very
I
cool.
like that. The sky in El Paso is so dramatic. That's cool.
Yeah, we have
Space.
our big star that we're known for.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Those are great ideas.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all I've got on this.
Okay, very cool. Thank you. And then I think this is the last one, and then we'll just sort of flash the schedule again, just as a sort of recap of, when there's more opportunity to provide input as we sort of progress on in the project. But this last prompt is again thinking outside of that play container. So not the play equipment and the size or scale of it or anything like that, but what is going to be needed when we're looking at site selection as far as access and needs. So a couple examples would be maybe having this park on a major public transportation line. Or, make sure that there's sidewalks that service accessing the park. And then we also want to think about things to avoid. So maybe stay away from locating it too closely to busy roadways. Or maybe there's other, safety or sensory input things to think about when we're thinking about things to avoid. So if you have any thoughts on sort of what needs to be there and maybe what needs to be shied away from as far as where to locate this.
So I think right now the current issue, we have a lot of refugees from across the border. So I think avoiding areas in this particular time, like I know they did a big story on the news recently. They're housing, I think, 250 migrants at a closed down middle school, and the neighborhood around that area is not very happy about it. So I think like avoiding those types of areas. But I don't know how long that issue will be going on.
And then I had a question about parking. So and this is specific, to your experience working with Gigi's Playhouse. Does Gigi's Playhouse do sort of offsite field trips to parks and playgrounds, or is it sort of contained within? And I guess I'm asking, if you do offsite visits to parks or playgrounds, is it like a bus or a van, or what type of transit? Because we're starting, that'll help us understand sort of the scale of parking needs and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, we do. Typically it's either like we meet there with the families, or a carpool. So we have talked about in the future maybe renting like a van, things of that nature, but yeah, we haven't done so recently.
okay. Any other thoughts about what is absolutely necessary to have for access, or anything else we might want to avoid?
That's pretty much all I can think of right now.
Okay, cool. Michelle, do you want to recap the schedule maybe really quick, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, just thank you so much for spending your time with us today. You have such a unique experience and expertise that we really just appreciate you spending time to talk to us about that today. And so thank you. And we hope you stay involved. So there's a few other ways to do so. Sandy and I will be sending out invitations to some of these things, and you can also track the progress of this project on Elevate El Paso. So just to kind of recap, the next thing we'll be doing is using the feedback we've gotten to draft this online survey that'll launch hopefully next week. So we're really excited to get that out. Feel free. We'll probably reach out to you and be like, please distribute this to people that might want to provide their feedback that way. So if you want to jump into the online survey, that's great. We have the Chalk the Block event. So if you just happen to be down there with your family or friends, you can stop in and see the city of El Paso's tent that is talking about this project. And they'll be in San Jacinto Plaza. In November, we have 3 events. One of them being a children's workshop, a focus group workshop, and more of a community-based one. There'll also be public meetings throughout this month in November. And then finally, we'll reach back out one final time, probably in December, just to kind of recap what we heard from the community as it relates to the playground. Any questions about that?
No questions. Yeah,
Great.
hopefully I can make the Chalk the Block. Been once before, so that'd be.
Yeah, it looks like a really fun event. Martin will be there for the consultant team. I'm a little jealous I won't be able to be there, but
I'm the lucky one, no doubt about it.
yeah. And Jose Luis, I know that we don't have your direct email address because we were communicating through Molly's email address, I think. Do you want to provide that, or do you prefer us to keep communicating through Molly's?
Oh yeah, if you wouldn't mind both of us, that'd be great.
Yeah. Do you want to pop your email address into the chat, and then I'll just copy that into our correspondence list?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. And I think your group will be really helpful in helping, I'm looking especially at this children's workshop. I think, if we can rally Gigi's Playhouse to help get a bunch of kids there, that would be super fun. So
yeah.
definitely something to keep in mind. So that's on November 4th, which is a Saturday. So.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely discuss that with Maggie, and I'm sure we can send out a newsletter or something like that to help you.
Cool. Yeah, and we'll provide more information as we get closer. We really have the date identified right now, so as we develop more details, we'll provide that with you and the rest of the focus group participants. So
awesome.
And that's it, I think. So thank you.
Thank you all for having me. Hopefully I was of some help.
No, you were. This was really great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and keep up all the great work you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep. Okay.
Bye. Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Yep,
Nice to meet
bye.
you.